From our studio located in Madison, New Jersey, this is Real Good News.
I'm like the man they call a seeker. I'm a real truth speaker, and I always cut right to the core. And you know I really ask, cause I get right to the facts and get the answer to what I'm looking for. I can pronto play a liar, I'm a tireless and quiet. I've been a theorist thinker since my youth. My motives on above ground. I've always been a bloodhound for the truth. The truth.
Hello, I'm Lisa Allen, and welcome to a special edition of Real Good News. In this episode, we will take a look at the stories that we've highlighted in 2025 so far. But first, here is Tommy Nonnenmacher.
Welcome back to Real Good News. So, kicking off with a really remarkable story of generosity, which is unfolding here in Morris County in Parsippany, and it comes from one of the youngest entrepreneurs in our community. At just 16 years old, Giovanni DiDomenico, the founder of Shop Morris County, has made a donation valued at $20,000 to the Parsippany Police Athletic League. It's a gift not only significant in size, but also in its impact, helping to strengthen youth sports, mentorship, and community programming across town. The check presentation took place on Friday at the Parsippany PAL on Baldwin Road. Local officials, community members, and partners gathered for the event, celebrating what many called both an extraordinary act of generosity and a proud moment for Parsippany. Giovanni launched Shop Morris County to give local businesses, events, and organizations a stronger presence online. The platform has grown quickly, connecting residents with restaurants, shops, and community happenings all across the county. And now Giovanni is paying it forward, using his success to reinvest in programs that benefit kids and families. The Parsippany PAL, as many residents know, provides far more than sports. It offers a safe space where young people can build teamwork, leadership, and life skills while making lasting friendships. Leaders at the PAL say this $20,000 contribution will go a long way toward expanding their programs, reaching more families, and welcoming even more children through their doors. And for Giovanni, the donation is about more than just dollars. It's about gratitude. He said repeatedly that the community supported him from the very beginning, and this gift is his way of saying thank you while investing in Parsippany's future. Thank you, Giovanni. Here's a story where we really need a good news ending. It's a chance to save two young puppies. Morris County surrogate and animal advocate Heather Darling is spearheading an effort to find a forever home for two 8-month-old sibling puppies, Macy and Mackley. The pups are currently in a shelter in North Carolina. Darling says if a suitable family steps forward here in New Jersey, she'll help arrange their transport north. Macy and Mackley are just still babies, healthy, up to date on vaccinations, and described as sweet, wiggly, and eager to love. Their start in life was heartbreaking. Born in the South, they were abandoned at a shelter and left without a family to call their own. Tonight, time is unfortunately not on their side. Each day they remain at the facility, the risk grows. Advocates say these two have never known what most people or pets take for granted. A safe yard to run in, a warm place to sleep, and the security of a family who won't give up on them. If you've been considering adoption, or you know someone who has, this could be the moment to make a life-changing difference. Again, both puppies are just 8 months old, friendly with people, and ready to travel if a loving home is confirmed. For adoption inquiries, please contact Heather Darling at nnjatty@gmail.com. That's nnjatty@gmail.com. You can also find more information on Facebook or on Instagram at Real Heather Darling. Macy and Mackley, 2 puppies with plenty of love to give, waiting for a second chance. If you're able to open your home and your heart, help is just an email or a message away. And now for some Jets news. Sunday is the long-awaited big season opener for the Jets, otherwise known as the Big Swap, because Week 1 brings a marquee storyline to MetLife Stadium this Sunday because Aaron Rodgers returns. But this time he's wearing black and gold, and he's playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Of course, we got our GOAT, Justin Fields, from the Steelers, so thus the big swap. Across the field, Pittsburgh has been one of the offseason's headliners. Rodgers is expected to start, and he's got a new top target in DK Metcalf, but that sets up a must-watch strength-on-strength matchup on the outside against the Jets' elite secondary, led by my favorite player, Sauce Gardner. Unfortunately, the Jets recently took a hit up front with captain Elijah Vera Tucker out long-term with torn triceps, forcing some shuffling on the right side against TJ Watt and a deeper Steelers front. But it's safe to say the match is going to be one you're not going to want to miss. That's your Jets Steelers Week 1 preview. Good luck to our local Jets fans. Back to you.
Now we will hear from Steve Lubetkin at State Broadcast News.
Thanks, Lisa. Demands for quality care and education in early childhood programs are increasing, and there aren't enough teachers to meet the need. So what's influencing the teacher shortage, and how are students affected when they don't have access to quality care and education? Joining us to talk about this today is Dr. Stephen Barnett, a professor of education in economics and policy at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Dr. Barnett is a Board of Governors professor of education, economics, and policy. He's the founding co-director of the National Institute for Early Education Research at Rutgers. He's an economist who's conducted groundbreaking long-term benefit cost analyses of the preschool and other early childhood programs beginning in the 1980s. He's continued to study how best to provide early learning experiences that support lasting improvements in learning and development. Dr. Barnett, thanks for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So what have you found out about the benefits and advantages of early childhood for young people?
Well, the benefits start right out of the gate, improving children's experiences, their early learning and development. They're more ready to succeed when they get to school and start a more formal education. And that sets into motion a kind of cycle of success. I get to school, I do better. I like school. Teacher likes me. So I work harder, so I do better. On down the pipeline, they're less likely to fail and repeat a grade, less likely to need special education services, more likely to graduate, more likely to go on to college. When we get those educational attainment outcomes, then that just opens the door for so many other benefits. What follows from that is higher rates of employment, higher earnings, better health. People even live longer.
So with all of those benefits from early childhood education, we still have a crisis in the country in terms of attracting people and retaining people into early childhood education roles. What's driving that shortage?
Two things are driving the shortage. The first part is good news. There's a new wave of states moving rapidly for universal preschool, including California, which is huge, but also states like New Mexico, Colorado, and that drives up the demand for teachers. So you're going to serve everybody instead of half the kids. You need a lot more teachers. But the probably bigger problem is that teaching young children was never a well-paid job. It's at the bottom of the pay ladder. And that position has gotten worse. As other low-income jobs increase their wages, you can make more at a big box store. Work from home is something you can do in many other jobs, not as a preschool teacher. And there are more behavior problems in classrooms since the pandemic. That's eased up a little, but it hasn't gone away. And teachers don't get the respect and acknowledgement they used to get. So you have a less attractive job, lower pay. You're going to have trouble retaining a workforce.
So what's the solution? What do we do about it?
Well, there are two solutions. One is to get more people to come into the field, and the other is to get people to stay. The best way to make that happen is to increase compensation. So that's the most obvious. It's a simple but difficult solution because it requires spending money. But there are other things we can do. There are folks that we can upskill by bringing higher education to childcare teachers who don't have the qualifications that we'd like them to have to be expert early childhood teachers, get them the qualifications, but we're still going to have to increase their compensation to get them to stay once they have a college degree and could go elsewhere.
I mean, it sounds like there's a need for a huge cultural shift in the mindset of, frankly, most Americans about how we compensate the people who take care of our kids.
I think people don't understand just how poorly paid early childhood folks are. The pay gap between a kindergarten teacher and a preschool teacher is on average about $20,000 a year. That's huge. Even for teachers in the public schools. In the same public school, the preschool teacher would make $6,000 less. Why would they stay? Even if they want to, they can only afford to do that for a while because they have to look after their own family.
So what are the strategies you think that public schools and public school advocates and even advocates for private early childhood, what are the strategies they can employ to convince their constituencies that they need to be shelling out more to encourage people to stay in the profession?
I think what people can do to convince the general public and build public will, which, by the way, public will is pretty strong. Last year, over 80% of the states had advances in early childhood policy, and 70% of them spent more money. So there's at least a window for that. But to persuade people, I think they need to understand how important quality is, that those kinds of benefits that I talk about mostly don't happen. And they mostly don't happen because our programs are not of the quality and intensity and duration that it takes to make that happen. The key to all of that is a really good, strong teacher who knows how to reach, to get inside the head of each child, basically, and figure out what does that child. For 3 and 4-year-olds, you need to think about the teacher's job is not teaching the class, it's reaching each individual 3 and 4-year-old, who often are in very different places, and figuring out what do they need cognitively, linguistically, socially. One of the biggest problems in our survey data that parents cite is their kids don't know how to make friends anymore. Right? Coming out of the pandemic, a lot of problems receded. That one didn't. So a quarter of parents say their kids don't have the pro-social skills. If you said that to a parent, and it's like, well, what do I do? Yeah, well, you don't want someone in your child's classroom whose response is, what do I do? They need to understand and know that. That's something you have to get prepared for.
So what in your research are you finding for the long term? Are there any bright spots for early childhood that you can point to?
There are bright spots for early childhood. States that are beginning to put quality first. When we started surveying state preschool programs on 10 indicators of things that we call them benchmarks for quality standards that we think you have to be in the game, right? If you don't do this, maybe 1 or 2 you could drop. But in general, you need to do these things if you're going to produce the kinds of benefits for kids that we know we can. There were no states that did that. There are now 5, including Mississippi and Alabama. Right? These are not states that have a lot of money to throw around, who have decided they're going to prioritize quality. Alabama renamed their preschool program First Class to indicate how much, it's a nice play on words, but it indicates that they're not afraid to say we're going to provide our kids with a first-class education beginning at age 4, and they put the dollars behind that. So if I'm looking for good news, there's good news. Michigan is doing the same thing, right? It's not just in the South, but seeing these states move forward like this, New Mexico, again, one of the poorest states in the country, moving ahead to invest in very high quality programs for their young children. So this is exciting.
How are we doing in New Jersey?
New Jersey has arguably the highest quality preschool program on the planet.
Tell me more.
By design. People come from all over the world. The city council in Oslo came to New Brunswick, New Jersey to learn how to better educate immigrant children. You hear this a lot in Jersey, like, we get no respect, right?
Sure.
I think sometimes we don't understand the way the rest of the world views us. Bermuda sent a delegation here, looked at our programs, came away and asked the New Jersey Department of Education if they could just adopt what our Department of Education already had. So how does no need to recreate this? And Bermuda's a wealthy country, right? They're not low income. So the fact that they saw this as high quality, all of this goes back to a court order in the Abbott v. Burke school finance case in New Jersey, where the Supreme Court of the state of New Jersey said we needed a program that would meet the needs of our kids, to give every kid in our state an equal shot to be on the playing field in the social, political, economic life of our state, and that a high-quality preschool program was the foundation for that. The standards for that were set. The funding followed the standards. Maximum class size of 15, that's the best in the country. Fully qualified teachers with 4-year degrees and specialization in early childhood. Very strong supports for coaching and to drive that, right? We're not just spending money, we're insisting the quality come up. And we collected the data over 20 years. The distribution of quality moved from poor to mediocre that our young children were in New Jersey to good to excellent. It's a remarkable story. And there are school districts that built on this. Union City, New Jersey, kids are all virtually low income, all qualify for free lunch. Most of them are from homes where Spanish is the home language. And they score a third of a grade level above the national average in 8th grade.
So how do you get the momentum? How do you get the public commitment behind those kinds of achievements to make sure that they're sustained?
Well, the first thing is getting the word out, right, through the media. Right? The public doesn't know in general. Right? I suspect the public in New Jersey doesn't know that this Supreme Court case propelled this program that once was 31 districts and now is in hundreds across the state, but is still not, we have 600 something school districts in New Jersey, has still not reached everybody. It has a ways to go, but for the kids that get it, it's a top quality program. And for the school districts that build on it, there's long-term success as a result. And so New Jersey really is a standout there. If that story doesn't get told, then the public doesn't understand that not only why are we spending as much money as we are on it, but why we need to spend more.
Well, it's a great story, and it's interesting that New Jersey is leading the pack rather than following everyone else. Steve Barnett is a Board of Governors Professor of Education, Economics, and Policy, and he's the founding co-director of the National Institute for Early Childhood, or rather Early Education Research at Rutgers University. Steve, again, thanks for joining us on the program today.
My pleasure.
And that's it from our Cherry Hill newsroom at State Broadcast News. I'm Steve Lubetkin. Back to you, Lisa.
And now let's hear what Alan Swanson has to say.
In previous reports, I have informed you about the toxics present in plastic food packaging. I have informed you about the California lawsuit against ExxonMobil, accusing them of lying about plastic recycling. I have pointed out that less than 10% of plastic is recycled. How can it be that plastic recycling does not work? Recycling in New Jersey is mandatory. We diligently place our plastic, cardboard, paper, and more in bins at the curb. We pay our tax dollars to have it picked up and transported to presumably be recycled. We see the chasing arrows on plastic containers that tells us, recycle this package. Studies have shown that just the presence of the symbol leads most Americans to believe the object can be recycled. Here's the problem. The chasing arrow symbol we see on plastic items does not mean the item can be recycled. Each number represents a resin code that identifies some of the components of the item. Those components consist primarily of fossil fuels, oil and gas, and chemicals. The chemicals produce flexibility, colors, and all the properties required for the function of the plastic item. Here's where the problem comes in. Most of the codes represent items that are not recyclable. There are a number of reasons for this. Among those reasons are the chemicals used in most plastics cannot be combined to create new plastic. It's cheaper to use virgin materials than recycled materials. It's very expensive to sort and prepare plastics for recycling. We consume billions of plastic bottles that will never have the capacity to recycle that quantity. It is possible to recycle items with number 1 and 2 codes, but even those items are recycled at a rate below 10%, and a very small percentage of number 5 items may also be recycled. So why doesn't everyone know that these symbols are and numbers do not mean the item can be recycled? The reason is this plastic bag. This bag says, reuse me to consign or recycle me. And it has a number 4 code on it. The problem is this bag cannot be recycled. And if you put it in the recycling bin and it is not sorted out at the recycling center, it can damage the recycling machinery. So, what are we to do to address the crisis of plastic waste? We simply must reduce the amount of single-use plastic we use every day. How do we do that? By making a commitment. There are alternatives to single-use plastics. There are cardboard water bottles or aluminum water bottles that you can reuse. Even better, there are containers that you can take with you for water, coffee, or whatever. You can carry your own leftovers when you go to lunch. You can stop using plastic produce bags and use cotton or equivalent. Not only are you reducing the amount of plastic you waste, you are no longer exposing yourself to the chemicals that went into the production of the plastic to begin with. I know it's not that simple, and it is so easy and convenient to continue to use single-use plastics. All I say is, think about it. Do your own research and do what you feel is best for you, your family, and our environment. This is Alan Swanson. Thank you for listening.
And now we will take a look at some of the stories that we have followed so far this year.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we want to share a story about hope, compassion, and real change happening right here in Morris County and beyond. It's called the Arrive Together program, and it's transforming the way we respond to mental health crisis, making a real difference for the people in need and the officers who serve our communities. For years, police officers have been the first to arrive when someone is in crisis. They're trained to protect and enforce the law, but too often they've also been asked to act as mental health professionals without the specialized training needed to handle these delicate situations. And the result? A system that placed an overwhelming burden on officers and at times escalated situations instead of diffusing them. And that's where the Arrive Together program comes in. This initiative pairs specially trained police officers with mental health professionals to respond to 911 calls involving mental health emergencies. Together, they bring a more compassionate, effective, and safer approach for everyone involved. Here's how it works. When a call comes in, a crisis intervention team-trained officer and a mental health specialist are dispatched together. The officer ensures the situation is safe, while the mental health specialist provides immediate support, offering care and guidance to the person in crisis. In some cases, specialists arrive within 30 minutes of the initial response to provide follow-up care, ensuring no one falls through the cracks. It's important to be clear. This is not about defunding the police. It's about giving officers the support they need to do their jobs more effectively. Law enforcement remains an essential part of the response team, but now they're backed by experts who bring a deeper level of understanding and care to mental health situations. And the result speaks for themselves. A study analyzing 342 calls handled by the program between December 2021 and January 2023 revealed something incredible. 90% of cases required no use of force, and 98% did not result in an arrest. That's the power of de-escalation in action. Now think about it. Imagine someone in the middle of a severe panic attack calling 911. In the past, an officer arriving alone might have unintentionally made the situation worse, simply because they weren't trained to provide the right kind of help. But now, thanks to Arrive Together, that same person can be met with a mental health professional who understands what they're going through, helping them stay calm, get the care they need, and avoid traumatic or dangerous outcomes. Locally, the program began as a pilot in Madison, Morristown, Moores Township, and Moores Plains. And since then, it has expanded to Denville, Montville, Parsippany, Roxbury, Hanover Township, and Randolph, earning praise from both the community and law enforcement. But the impact doesn't stop there. New Jersey is now the first state to implement this program in all 21 counties, setting a national example for how we handle mental health emergencies. And it's proof that when law enforcement and mental health professionals work together, communities become safer, stronger, and more compassionate. This program is going to continue, and it's going to grow. And one thing remains clear: change is happening, and it's really making a difference. If you'd like to learn more about the Arrive Together program, visit the New Jersey office of the Attorney General's website.
Hi, I'm Lisa Allen, and this is a Real Good News special report. We are coming to you over the break to bring you updated information on the recent nighttime drone sightings in Morris County. As you may be aware, Morris County residents have been reporting an increase in drone sightings, with social media buzzing about all these mysterious nighttime flights. In response, local law enforcement has issued a public advisory on how to report drone activity safely and responsibly. Officials emphasize that while most drone operations are legal and they follow the Federal Aviation Administration guidelines, there are instances where their use might raise some concerns. Examples include drones flying over restricted areas, invading privacy, or posing potential safety risks. Law enforcement wants to assure residents that there is no known threat to public safety at this time, but they are taking proactive steps to educate the community. They encourage anyone who notices suspicious drone activity to report it by providing specific details such as location, time, and description of the drone's actions. However, they also stress that residents should avoid directly confronting drone operators. This initiative is part of a collaborative effort between local law enforcement, the FAA, and other officials to ensure the responsible use of drones while maintaining public safety. Residents are reminded that drones are often used for harmless purposes like photography, recreation, or deliveries, but it's important to stay vigilant. For more information on how to report drone activity or learn about drone regulations, visit the Morris County website or contact your local police department. I'm Lisa Allen for Real Good News.
Martha's Vineyard is buzzing with activity as the island celebrates the 50th anniversary of Jaws, the iconic 1975 thriller filmed largely on its shores. Local businesses are checking out storefronts with shark-themed decorations, while town officials finalize logistics for the multi-day celebration that began on June 19th. Edgartown was famously transformed into the fictional Amity Island for the film. All around town, you'll find Jaws-themed signage and decorations, some hidden in plain sight, as the community gears up with banners, commemorative displays, and merchandise popping all over. Over in Vineyard Haven, the Martha's Vineyard Museum has opened its Jaws at 50 exhibit. Through vivid displays of photographs, oral histories, original art, and authentic movie props. The exhibit tells the story of how the island became an unforgettable backdrop for one of the most iconic films ever made. From the mechanical shark Bruce to early storyboards and portraits of locals who joined the crew. The museum offers a rich, behind-the-scenes look at the movie's production. What makes the exhibit especially unique is its mix of pop culture and science. Visitors can explore a full-scale replica of the orca's cabin and stand in front of the Amity Island Welcomes You sign, and learn how Jaws reshaped the island's identity. A gallery developed with the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy adds depth, shifting focus to real shark behavior, ocean ecosystems, and conservation. All across the island, restaurants and shops are rolling out themed menus and souvenirs. Even the local library is joining in, hosting Jaws-themed events for kids. A full-scale replica of the orca was spotted at Oak Bluffs Marina. Built by marine carpenter Michael Sterling over nearly a decade, the boat began its journey as a 1960s Maine lobster vessel before being transformed into a stunning tribute to the original. The orca will continue its tour to Edgartown and Menemsha later this week. But for now, this legendary boat is back in familiar waters. At the Edgartown Movie Theater, the recent Sunday evening screening of Jaws drew a crowd of over 150 people, many who were seeing the movie for the first time, and the entire audience rose to their feet and cheered at the climax of the movie. Meanwhile, fans are enjoying the sun and visiting key filming locations, from the iconic Jaws Bridge to the harbors, beaches, and quiet streets seen in the film. Recreating scenes and snapping photos, locals say interest in these landmarks has surged in the lead up to the anniversary. To meet the growing demand, several tour companies are offering Jaws-themed guided experiences. Walking tours through Edgartown and van tours around the island bring visitors to familiar sights, while guides share filming secrets, trivia, and stories from the summer that a young Steven Spielberg came to town. The Amity Homecoming Weekend featured panel discussions, public art, and outdoor screenings. For Martha's Vineyard, the 50th anniversary of Jaws is a celebration of the summer that locals became extras, fishermen became crew members, and a quiet New England town was cast in a role that would live on for generations. As we close out this episode, we take a look at Edgartown Harbor and the Chappaquiddick Ferry on a foggy New England morning.
We hope you enjoyed this special edition of Real Good News. For Real Good News, I'm Lisa Allen. We will see you on our next episode.
Now, a lie is halfway around the world. For the truth can put on its pants. Tell the truth. So my mission without fail is helping you prevail. You got to give the truth a fighting chance. Tell the truth. Beauty's truth, truth is beauty, and it's my civic duty to always find a reality. More than love, money, fame, more than rip on your good name.
I tell you something else about the truth, it will
Set you free on the road to truth you take. There's only two mistakes, don't